Good afternoon, fellow Miami alumni and guests. My name is Dengler. I am the president of the local Cleveland Alumni chapter for Miami University. I would like to welcome everybody for a unique presentation and event. It's a workshop on public speaking. We do have some great presenters today, some great guests that I've had the opportunity to interact with over the last couple of years, and a little background on just what Toastmasters is if you're not used to or not familiar with it. I was introduced to it from my father, who did it back in the 70s and 80s. It's a group that encourages and promotes leadership, public speaking, and personal development. And I've been part of the Cleveland Club Toastmasters for a little over a year. Through my interactions with Cleveland Club Toastmasters, I've seen a significant improvement in how I present, and I look at the growth that I have, and I wanted to be able to share that with our chapter in a development of a career. And that's really an initiative that we are trying to grow within the chapter itself. I always remember a story of Tom 135, sophomore year of college. And I'm sure Maria will not cover this because it sounds so basic. My first presentation in a public speaking course, I forgot to breathe. And when you forget to breathe while public speaking, bad things happen. And it unraveled, and I actually started hyperventilating and had to sit down. So with that, I thought for myself, let's change this. And throughout my career and throughout just development, I have obviously gotten more comfortable. But the most improvement that I've seen has been really over the last year and a half since joining Toastmasters. And it's amazing. I used to be nervous to do interactions like this. And today I sit here, we get a little butterflies early on, but at the same time, we're rocking and rolling. And I'm really happy to share our guests with you. So move into our presentation and our agenda today. I will go ahead and introduce our guests. You'll hear a presentation from Maria Shurik. Maria is the past president for the Cleveland Club Toastmasters. She will be sharing with you tips and takeaways for improving your public speaking, and hopefully, and we'll also have an opportunity to interact and a little Q&A session at the end. We'll have an interactive portion of today's event through table topics, and that's a Toastmasters term, table topics. And essentially what they are, they're impromptu speeches between 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll give a little bit more detail as we move along. But our topic for today is obviously Miami, and we have different pictures that will strike up some memories, hopefully, and we'll ask you to kind of describe, and we'll ask for a few volunteers to join. We need 3 more volunteers, so if you're up for the task, please, we'll have a tagline at the end of how to interact and how to get the volunteering going. So after that, we'll have Will Tarter. Will is a very experienced member of our Toastmasters Club. He will be doing evaluations of the overall table topic presentation, so we'll be able to give direct feedback to each person that does step up and volunteer to, again, allow you to take something home with you and really grow from this process. As I mentioned, Q&A at the end with Maria and Will. If there are any experiences to draw on or pick their brains, we will have some time for that, and then we'll wrap it up with closing remarks. So our first presenter today is Maria Shurik. Maria has been part of Cleveland Club Toastmasters since 2016. She holds her Competent Communicator Award. She has served in numerous leadership positions within the club, most recently serving as club president for the last year. Professionally, Maria is a labor and employee relations specialist for Greater Cleveland RTA. She received her bachelor's degree in urban studies and her master's in public administration from Cleveland State University. Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Shurik.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you all so much for joining us today. Alan and I have been planning this event for a few months, and it's really exciting that the day is finally here and we have a chance to share some of the things that we have learned in Toastmasters with each of you. Alan and I had a call the other night, and he said there were about 20 people signed up then, and knowing how virtual events go, I assumed, okay, maybe maybe half will actually show up. I don't know what the attendance is usually like at these events, but I also said, during our planning, even if only 3 people would attend this call, that it would be worth it, because it's a chance to help those 3 people improve their skills and level up professionally. My objective today is to give you practical tips and advice in 3 distinct skill areas in public speaking. Those are eye contact, vocal variety, and avoiding filler words. I'll also provide a few other tips that are important, especially in the virtual environment, since that's where many of us are working either most or all of the time right now. So we will get started with a few notes about eye contact. Again, we're in a virtual environment today, and for many of us, we're in virtual environments daily or throughout the week. So the eye contact that we make now is a little bit different, but I'll cover both in-person and virtual eye contact. We know it's important because it establishes a connection with our audience. And so in a virtual environment, if I can see the participants in the meeting, I like to keep those images of those participants way up high on my screen, close to my camera. And that allows me to see my audience without breaking eye contact. Even if I'm looking at a screen and not directly at somebody's eyes, it appears as though I'm looking you in the eyes. So that's an important tip to keep in mind in the virtual environment. In person, that looks really different. You want to scan the room, but you don't want to get into a habit of just scanning. You also want to lock eyes with members of your audience. Lock eyes for just a few seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, and then go to another person. If the audience is the right size, ideally, you can make eye contact with each member of the audience, and that establishes a very personal connection. It really brings the message home to those people as they're connecting with you on a very personal level. Both in person and in a virtual environment, something to be mindful of when it comes to eye contact is to avoid looking up when we're thinking of the next thing that we're going to say. And on the same token, a lot of people tend to look down. Again, more so in the in-person environment, people might look at their feet or look down at the surface in front of them. It's a nerves thing, and it's just a matter of being aware of it and then practice, practice, practice. Keep that eye contact during your speech. Next, we'll talk a little bit about vocal variety. Vocal variety really spices up your public speaking. This is also good for interpersonal communications, but this in public speaking or in speaking to groups, you want to make sure that you have a combination of low volume in your messaging because it draws the audience in and they'll lean forward a little bit, make sure they can hear you. It builds suspense. And then you lay it on them with some high impact, high volume, passionate public speaking. And that contrast is what keeps people engaged throughout your session. I'm sure you've been in meetings or you've heard speeches where it's monotonous, and by the end, you're snoozing. And that's just a natural reaction, right? So it's not something that necessarily comes naturally for everyone, but as you practice it and become aware of it, vocal variety is a really important part of public speaking. Finally, I want to talk about filler words. Filler words are extremely common in all of our speech. Whether it's speaking to one person or speaking to a group, all of us have a tendency to use things like so, you know, like, but, and, etc. It will carry on throughout your speech without you even noticing it. And so something that we do in Toastmasters to keep people mindful of that is we actually have a person assigned at each meeting to keep track of the number of filler words used by participants throughout the meeting. This might seem a little bit over the top, but when you hear from week to week that you used 5 ums, and then the next week you only used 2, and then the next week they couldn't hear any, that's quantitative measurement of how you're improving in your public speaking. Another way that you can practice this is to record yourself. If you have a prepared speech coming up and you want to practice it, record yourself and try to identify any filler words that you've used. Another way you can do this in terms of being more mindful is to listen to other people. When you're listening to someone else speak or listening to the radio or watching a show, anything, you can be tallying the number of times they use filler words, and you'll begin to realize that it is much more commonplace than you might have thought. My filler word fallback is my husband's is like. here all the time. But step one is just identifying what that word or what those words are for us, and then to work on replacing them. And the best replacement for a filler word is a pause. Generally, people don't like to pause between their thoughts because they don't want their audience to think they forgot what they're about to say, even if they did. But the secret is no one's going to know what's going through your head. If you pause, that causes the audience, again, just like the volume, just like the vocal variety, it causes the audience to lean in and wonder what it is that you're going to say next. It builds anticipation. You can embrace the power of the pause. You do not have to fill your pauses with words just to be saying something. You have that power to just stop and let messages sink in. Think about a political debate when there's a candidate who just goes on and on and on and appears to be rushed and doesn't appear to be necessarily thinking through their response, or you don't have a chance to absorb what they're saying. And then you can hear a candidate on the other hand who will make a statement and then pause for effect and impact and then make their next point, rather than connecting everything with an and, so, but, therefore. Pause. Let it sink in. Just a couple other tips that I want to share with you before we get into the practical exercise portion of this meeting, which I encourage you, as many of you as possible, I encourage you to participate in this portion, because this is really the power in Toastmasters, is the participation piece. So if you want to volunteer, there's a message at the bottom of how you can get in touch to make sure that you're added to the meeting to do so. But before we get to that point, I just want to make a few extra points that are specific to the virtual environment. One is gestures. When you're in person giving a speech, you potentially have your whole body to use for body language. Well, now I just have this rectangle around my face. I can still use my hands in my gestures. Just be really mindful not to be covering the screen when you do that. Again, it's a practice thing, but be aware that that can be distracting rather than adding to your speech, and then try to keep it a little bit more finessed. Be mindful of your background, right? I could have chosen a number of different backgrounds in my house. I chose this one because it was neutral and pleasant. It's not distracting. You know, if I wanted to distract you, I would show you my living room and full bookshelves. But I've decided that I want the message to be and the focus to be on me and my message, not on my background. People will be looking at your background, so don't give them that opportunity to be distracted from your message. And then finally, just choose the best audio option for the format. Sometimes you'll have the option to call in if your phone has better audio. Sometimes you might want to use a headset, depending on the atmosphere that you're in. Test everything out in advance and be comfortable with the equipment before it's time. I hope these tips have been informative and useful. These are tips that you can implement immediately. And again, I encourage you to just practice, practice, practice. Toastmasters is one way to do that. They're weekly meetings where you can practice these skills, but practice it wherever you are. Be mindful of these. And speaking of practicing it immediately, I am going to give it back to Alan, who is going to start the table topics portion that he mentioned, where you'll have an opportunity to put this to use immediately. So thank you, Alan.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Again, your leadership for me and my growth has been fantastic. And thank you for joining us today. Fantastic presentation, and then hopefully people can take a little notes. We'll have a handout to circulate if you weren't able to take notes, and we'll circulate that to you after today's presentation. But without further ado, it is time for the table topics portion of the show. As I alluded to a little bit, table topics are impromptu short speeches. The topic for today is Miami University. Duh. I will allow Maria to go first to just show people kind of what the ropes are. The table topics in general, they are 1 to 2 minute speeches. What we'll have here is I'll time. At 1 minute, you will see a green screen in front of you. At 1:30 in your 2 minute presentation, you will see the yellow screen. And at 2 minutes, indicating it is time to wrap up a little bit, you will see the red screen. We have pictures of places around Oxford. Obviously, Maria is not a graduate of Miami, so she has a Cleveland-themed picture. I want you to enjoy it. All right, it doesn't have to be a real experience. If if there's an example of something that you never did, you can make it up, get creative. This will allow you to maybe share an experience of a time you were at this location or at this event, or what this means to you. There is no right or wrong answer. Again, the idea of it is just practice impromptu speaking, and allow yourself to have some nostalgia too. It was really fun for me to go through and look at the different pictures, and I got a little bit excited and emotional about Miami, and I haven't been back in a couple of years, and I hope that you guys will feel the same way as you go through this exercise. So with that, I will allow Maria to enjoy the first table topic, and I will move on to her picture, and you guys will get a good idea of what this is all about.
Jacobs Field. Come on. You might think of it as progressive, but that is Jacobs Field. Growing up, I have fond memories of going to ball games with my family. I remember one specific game. I think it was the first game I ever went to with my dad. And they were doing a chant. I don't remember which chant. It's been a long time since I've been to a game, but they were doing some chant. And I was maybe 8 years old. There was a little girl behind me who was 5 or 6, younger than me. I was impressed by the fact that she was younger than me, and she was in these chants. And I thought, oh man, I am behind the times. I got to learn this stuff. And I became such a super fan of going to games and having the full experience. I love when I can go to a game and have the classic experience of a hot dog and a bag of peanuts and just making a ruckus when the Indians hit a home run. And it's been a long time, but this is one of the most memorable locations from my childhood that I now hope to have the chance to pass on to my kids. We haven't gone to a game yet as a family. I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old, but Alan, I got to say this is inspiring, and once we're able to go to games again, I am committed that I want my kids to experience that just like I had the opportunity. So thank you for giving me this really fun thing to talk about that brings back some really great memories from my childhood. Mr. Topic Master.
I did forget to mention at the end of our impromptu speeches within Toastmasters, we do turn it back to the Table Topics Master and conclude our impromptu speeches with Mr. Table Topics Master. It's not required, but that's where the reference came from Maria. Great job, Maria. Maria did not see this picture in advance. I know that she has told numerous stories throughout her Toastmasters career about Indians games and progressive field. So I know this meant something to her, and she did a great job and did a wonderful. That's exactly what you're supposed to do here. I'm nostalgic about Indians games too. We're very, I'm itching for a little summer fun. But with that, soon things will hopefully go back to normal. I would like to welcome Joanna to the floor for her picture and impromptu speaking on a Miami themed picture.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Seeing this photo definitely brings back a lot of great memories of campus. I still remember my first time setting foot on campus, which was actually kind of a stressful day. My family lives in the Cleveland area, and instead of going down the night before, my dad insisted that we just go the day of and it would be fine. And of course it was the fall and we had a huge snowstorm up here. So we get down there, it's nice, it's sunny, our car's covered in salt. It was definitely really embarrassing. But once we got out and started walking around the campus, I could tell that this was really the place for me. It was just so comfortable and beautiful. And seeing the sundial for the first time really was a sight. I remember, just like many other students, walking past and rubbing the turtle heads, taking a lot of photos here with friends and family when they would come to visit, or at the point of graduation, and everything was starting to wrap up and you could finally really start de-stressing, walking around the campus and actually taking in a lot of the sites that over the last 4 years you might have gotten a chance to just brush past and not always been able to fully take in and enjoy. So definitely something that really brings back a lot of positive memories. I would say for me, I particularly really enjoyed going past the sundial in the fall. That was always one of my favorite seasons at Miami. Fall and spring were always very beautiful, beautiful times, and definitely a good spot to stop and try to relax after an exam or just on a nice walk through campus.
Perfect. Great job. It's not an easy task to step up and especially be the first one. So thank you so much, Joanna, for stepping up. And I wanted to give, I guess, the most iconic picture of what I thought of Miami early on, and then just a beautiful background. And you did a fantastic job describing it and setting the scene. So great job.
Thank you.
You came in at 1 minute and 48 seconds. Just as a FYI there. All right, I would like to welcome in Terry Smith. I had numerous interactions with Terry, and Terry has been very generous with his time in the past for our local chapter and has publicly spoke at a handful of our events. So not to put the pressure on you, Terry, and then hopefully you have some memories with this next photo. And if you do not, make it up.
Miami hockey. Well, first of all, good to see you again, Alan. Just wanted to show my Miami hat here that I got at one of the Cleveland chapter luncheons and a raffle. So I just wanted to put that on for the opening. So Miami hockey, well, I graduated in 1978, and at that time the hockey facility was off of it's around Bishop Roads, I think it was. You had to go down into it was built down into the ground, so you had to go down a ramp, long ramp into it. I know they've got a new one there now, but there's so I didn't really go to many hockey matches, but I did. I grew up in Elyria, Northeast Ohio, and we used to always ice skate down on the river, Black River. And so when I went to Miami, I would like going to the hockey rink just to skate. So somebody came up to me once and saw I could skate fairly well and asked if I'd join the intramural team. So I did join the team, and I got 1 goal, so I was happy with that. So I know the Miami hockey team is pretty good, as I recall, but yeah, I was nearby the hockey rink at that time, and I don't know what else to.
No, Terry, you can wrap it up whenever it's.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have right now, but it's good practice to work on. Thanks.
No, absolutely. That's part of the exercise. Didn't have a lot of experience going to hockey games, but he was able to, and we'll touch on this on the evaluations portion. But he brought in a non-Miami experience and tied it to the topic at large. Great job, Terry, and again, thank you for volunteering and being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you soon in person. I know this time is a little bit challenging, but we will get back there and hopefully have more events downtown.
Sounds good.
All right. Our next victim is fellow board member Emily Major. Emily, are you there?
I'm here.
All righty. Here is your photo.
Oh, boy. Oh, yes. Oh, wow. All right. I have a great story for this one. So Skippers brings back some heartfelt memories for me, that's for sure. I am a Miami merger. I got married to my husband 2 years ago. We actually met at the bar above Skippers. There was a night I was out with some friends, and he happened to be at this bar as well, and talking with one of my friends. And came time for her to walk home, and he had offered to walk her home, and not knowing who he was, didn't feel like that was really okay for me to leave her alone. So I said, I'll walk her home, or I'm at least walking with you all. About halfway to her house, realized that he was the brother of her boyfriend, and she had actually called him to the bar to come walk her home. So he and I spent the rest of the night just talking, getting to know one another, went on one of our first dates at Skipper's, and had been together ever since. So for the 2 years that we had at Miami, talking with each other and getting to know each other, we really kind of grew up together. And to have been able to get married 2 years ago and had such an overwhelming show of Miami alumni there. Between his parents were also Miami mergers, and then my dad and my sister had gone to Miami. I'd say we had about 50% of our wedding that was Miami alumni, and was just an unbelievable experience and so much fun. So definitely every time that I'm back, excited to be able to go back this hopefully upcoming summer. My sister-in-law graduates from her graduate program, and definitely cannot wait to have a Euro and some waffle fries at Skipper. So thanks for the great pick, Al.
Great job, Emily. Great job. You came in, and Tara, I forgot to mention, you came in at 1 minute and 31 seconds. Emily, you came in at 1 minute and 51 seconds. Skipper's is one of those bars where I was looking at photos to put in the presentation, and I feel like it crosses generations. You talk to people that graduated in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. That seems to be a real common thread in the uptown life of Miami. So great job, great memories. I did also see the picture of you that you posted for your board spotlight. So that's awesome. That's what we like to hear. Emily, Emily Lefevers, I will ask do we have any other volunteers to move forward with? And if not, I encourage everyone out there to email JJ with the instructions below. I'll give it a couple minutes because it might be a delay in terms of how the email thread comes through. All right, I'm getting indication that we have no volunteers. I do know what the next picture is, but I don't remember, I guess, the specific one. So I'm happy to discuss and do a table topic for myself, but I will put an asterisk on this table topic because, again, I put together the presentation. So let's see what we got. King Library. Many nights spent at King Library, and I guess I don't know if I should say this publicly, but reflect on how my study habits evolved throughout my college career. I was a big, I wouldn't say supporter, but it did happen, of the kind of cram all night my freshman year. And I would spend, again, long hours and long evenings in King Library. And as you grow and you evolve in your study habits, you learn to manage them better, right? That's life. So instead of being at King Library until 4 in the morning, I would be at King Library after class and structured it more like a job as opposed to not being as interested in the studying by day in the early portion of my career my student career. And you look at kind of how that was able to manage my stress throughout that. It was a lot better. My sleeping habits were better. My grades, my classes were harder, so the grades were probably the same. But you look at how one learns and develops, and the student part of me was able to really find a lot of value in King Library and a lot of memories. I do have one memory too of freshman year, not knowing kind of the protocol, quote unquote, during finals week in the private rooms on the 3rd floor. You are not supposed to open a bag of chips. I did not know that. I was eating a bag of chips about 10:30 at night. I got a lot of dirty looks. I became the person at the end of my student career giving those dirty looks for people that would open the bag of chips on the 3rd floor quiet spaces. you find your corners, you find what is comfortable to you. I spent a lot of time in the computer lab, meeting with groups there. It is one of those kind of staples of where I felt comfortable studying. That, and also Laws Hall. They redesigned it and put in a new library there, a little bit closer to where I lived. But the crosswalk and the lead up to King Library is one that I do hold dear to my heart. Turn it back to myself, Mr. Table Topics Master. Boom. With that, we do have 2 more pictures, so I will look to see if we do have any more volunteers to do 1 or 2 more. All right, again, I am getting indication that we have no more volunteers. So with that, that will conclude our table topics portion of the presentation, and we move to the evaluation portion. And with that, I would introduce Mr. William Tarter. William Tarter Jr. is the current president for Cleveland Club Toastmasters and has been with the club for over 10 years. Will, too, like Maria, has held numerous leadership roles within the club, along with leadership roles in the area. Will holds his Distinguished Toastmasters Award, which is the highest level that you can receive within Toastmasters. Outside of Toastmasters and his 9 to 5, he is very involved civically. He currently works with the executive committee for the NAACP Cleveland branch. In the past, he has been on the board of directors for Engage Cleveland and Young Professional Senate President, just to name a few, along with a very long resume. Again, Will is one of those leaders that I have looked up to in our group. You can just tell when he gives his evaluations, they're very thorough, and that's why I really wanted to allow him to share his feedback of the group. And it's just the experience that he has with Toastmasters and public speaking. This is one of his areas of expertise. So with that, I turn it over to Mr. Will Tarter for our evaluation of the table topics.
Thanks so much. Are you able to hear me okay? All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to all of the speakers today. I think Maria did an outstanding job setting the stage with her speech and offering some really great insight on how to engage your public speaking career and how to improve, no matter what you do in your 9 to 5, and how to strengthen your public speaking experience. And I think that Maria brought a great perspective to today's conversation. What Alan asked me to do, and thanks so much, Alan, again for the invitation to join me today, is to offer some feedback and advice on the table topics. One of the things that happens frequently is when people are asked to speak on something, we'll get asked a question, or we'll be asked our thoughts on something, and then we will provide our answer, and then we'll sit down and we'll have this flood of things of, oh my gosh, I should have said this, I should have said X, Y, and Z. If you ever experienced that, then this is why table topics is so important, because it allows you the ability to practice thinking on your feet, so that when you're put in those situations, you'll have the opportunity to think faster on your feet about what you want to say and how you want to say it. Additionally, that's what Toastmasters brings us, an organization, the ability to practice and to have that flood of emotions when you sit down, if you want to, write down what came to mind. And then when you actually give that speech, then you will have the opportunity to incorporate that feedback into your speech, and you're less likely to have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I should have said X, Y, and Z. So I really encourage everyone to continue to join Toastmasters if you're interested, as well as to participate in table topics. And today's meeting provides an excellent opportunity to experience both those things firsthand. So as the evaluator of today's meeting, I've been asked to provide feedback to the table topics. And we had several table topics today. One was from Maria, then Joanna, Terry, Emily, and Aaron. So what I'm going to do during the speech evaluations today is to offer some things that each speaker did very well, and then offer the opportunity to provide feedback on what things could be strengthened. And I understand that there is some audio issues, so I'm going to see if maybe I can get a little bit closer, see if that's a little bit better, and then if not, I have my my iPhone here on standby. So here we go. Let's just do this real quick. Okay. And then if the host could tell me if
Okay. I hope that this is better. There we go. All right. Hopefully everyone can see me okay and everyone can hear me okay a little bit better. So again, just wanted to offer that perspective and the feedback to each one of our speakers. So for Maria, the first speech today was about Jacobs Field and progressive field. And I think that you did an outstanding job. When I looked at the story that you provided, you talked about your experiences there going there when you were young, and also what you want to do as a parent and hopefully taking your children there one day. And I really connected with that as a fellow parent on what great memories can be experienced there when you go there with your family. And clearly you still have those memories to this day. One offer of feedback I would encourage you to do is for many people who might know about that stadium, they know it now as Progressive Field, but they might not necessarily know that it was Jacobs Field for a long time at first, unless you're from the Cleveland area or have been in the Cleveland area for a while. So I would encourage you to explain that part of the story where you say that it's known as Progressive Field to many, but when it was first built, it was Jacobs Field and will always be the Jake to me, which is something that for me, I think about in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, how it used to be Gund Arena, and I still call it Gund Arena. So great job on your speech today. I really enjoyed your table topic. For Joanna did a great job. You had the picture of the sunset over Miami University. And Joanna, I really want to commend you for how you maintain eye contact with the camera the entire time. And that's very difficult to do when you are giving a table topic and being forced to think on your feet. As I will talk about a little bit later, that's one of the things that we encourage people to do in Toastmasters is to maintain the eye contact so we do not know when you're thinking about what you want to say next. And I think you did a great job maintaining eye contact throughout your speech today. I also liked your descriptors, your word descriptors. When you talked about the sundial, you talked about rubbing the turtle, you talked about your story of visiting with family and how much it meant to you to be at that point in the university's campus. And I really appreciate how you painted that picture and allowed the audience to experience that story with you. So great job on that. If I can offer one suggestion for you, one of the things I noticed as you were speaking is you have a great cadence and a great delivery. One of the things that you did do in this particular presentation is use the word "and" a lot. And what that does is that connects sentences to sentences to sentences. And for the viewer, we might not necessarily know that as you finish a sentence and move on to your next sentence, that if you have a brief break there, instead of using the word "and" as a filler word, as Maria talked about earlier, that you are kind of severing that thought as you move on to the next part of your speech. So I'd encourage you to watch the number of "ands" that you use in your speech, and especially as you try and connect them in the sentences, be mindful of how often you use that word "and" instead maybe insert a brief pause so that we know you're moving from thought to thought. Great job on your speech today. Really, really enjoyed it. Terry had the table topic of Miami hockey, and that's not an easy topic, especially when you were talking about the history of Miami and your connection with the hockey program. It might be very similar then versus now, or might be different. And I think that you did a great job of pivoting and talking about how you didn't really have a direct connection per se, but you still were a big fan, and some of the things that you still maintain the affinity for the university, and you talk about that we're wearing your Miami hat and your involvement with the Cleveland chapter even to present day. So I enjoyed learning about your affinity for the university through that story. Even though it might not necessarily have a direct interface with hockey, it was still a part of the campus experience all the same, and I really enjoyed learning about that. One of the things I would encourage you to do, Terry, is when we're talking about eye contact, it's not as easy with a camera, and I recognize that. One of the things that we do tend to do when we're thinking about what we're going to say is to either look up or to look down. And what that does is that tells the audience that we're trying to think of what it is that we're going to say. If we maintain eye contact with the camera, or if we're speaking in person, we maintain eye contact with the audience has no idea that we don't know what we're going to say next. So we're trying to actively think of what we're going to say. And that's one thing I would encourage you to do, is to maintain that eye contact so that we don't break that connection with you as a speaker, and that we don't know that you're trying to think quickly of what your next point is going to be. But I think you did a great job of really sharing your story and your affinity with the university, and that was clear and evident throughout your speech today. So great job, and thank you for participating in Table Topics. Emily had the picture of Skippers, which I understand is a very popular bar. I loved the term Miami merger, which was really interesting. As Alan may have said, I'm a graduate of Ohio University. My wife is a graduate of Ohio University, so I don't even know what you would call an Athens connection, but I really enjoyed learning about that Miami merger portion of the description. I think that was really great. I also enjoyed that story of how you met your husband and how you started at Skippers and how you continue to kind of grow into get to know each other throughout the years. And I thought you did a great job of sharing that story, and we all felt very knowledgeable and how you got to where you are to this day based on your memories that you created at Miami University and at Skippers in particular. So great job on that. I also would encourage you, as Maria did in her speech, she maintained eye contact, but she also involved her hand gestures. And that's something that I would encourage you as you are cultivating your public speaking skills, is to use your hand gestures. Even if we're in a virtual environment, having the ability to communicate both in your face and your hand gestures allows for the audience to experience different dynamics in your speech. If you want to talk about when you're up on the hill and or above the bar, or you want to talk about you enjoyed walking down the hills, or wherever it is, it provides an additional element to your speech of using your hand gestures. So I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to incorporate that into your public speaking repertoire. Alan, with the King Library, I also enjoyed hearing your stories and some of the ups and downs of being a student in the library. And it's something that what I felt, even though I didn't go to Miami, I could still understand and relate to a lot of the stories that you shared during your experience, including being loud on the third floors unintentionally, being there late and trying to recalibrate your schedule to be there when you're not sleepy. It was just a very relatable speech, and I really enjoyed how you shared that story with us, and we all felt aware of what the experience was like for you, and that really carried through in your speech. One thing I would encourage you to do, is this is something we talk about in Toastmasters all the time, is vocal variety. We're talking about being excited, being passionate, or being angry, or being still and being silent, whatever the case might be, is that adding that vocal variety allows the audience to experience the range of emotions that you're feeling and sharing your stories. And I really encourage you, Alan, as you have done in Toastmasters repeatedly, you do a great job of sharing stories and sharing the experiences. That's something that I know I need to continually work on, as my vocal variety, and that's something that I'd encourage you to do as well. All in all, I think that you all did a great job. And I do look forward to the future presentation. So thank you, Alan, for the opportunity to be a part of this. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties of switching, but I hope that it was helpful to all of the speakers today. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, working through technical difficulties, that's part of public speaking. And
Absolutely.
Like the distinguished Toastmaster that you are, you handle it beautifully. And again, thank you for volunteering. And if you won't hold anything against us being Miami grads, we won't hold anything against you for being an OU grad. It's just water under the bridge, man.
Yeah, just a sibling rivalry, that's all.
Thanks again, Will. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
difficulties. Am I on? I'm muted. Okay, well, turn it over to Terry. Oh, perfect. I apologize for that snafu. And with that, we'll turn it over to Terry. I'll close everything up. If there are no questions that did come through, I do apologize for additional technical difficulties. But something that Terry has done for us in the past is it's called the Code of Love and Honor, and it's a speech, and Terry will give a little color to what it is. And we do have a little bit of time to allow Terry to give this presentation. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Terry for the Code of Love and Honor.
Okay, thank you, Alan. It's interesting to find out I'd like to hear the differences between, like what Mark had to say about, it's hard to do impromptu, and others find it hard to do memorize things. So a little combination of both is good. So here's the Code of Love and Honor, as you mentioned. I'll give it a shot here. I am Miami. I believe that a liberal education is grounded in qualities of character and intellect. I stand for honesty, integrity, and the importance of moral conduct. I respect the dignity, rights, and property of others and their right to hold and express disparate beliefs. I defend the freedom of inquiry, which is the heart of learning. I exercise good judgment and believe in personal responsibility. I welcome a diversity of people, ideas, and experiences. I embrace the spirit, academic rigor, opportunities, and challenges of a Miami experience, preparing me to make the world a better place. I demonstrate love and honor by supporting and caring for my fellow Miamians. And because I am Miami, I act through my words and deeds in ways that reflect these values and beliefs with a deep sense of accomplishment and gratitude. I will love, honor, and make proud those who help me earn the joy and privilege of saying, to think that in such a place, I led such a life. Code of Love and Honor. Thank you.
Perfect. Wow. Thank you, Terry. It is always a treat to hear that. And again, it's more memories and nostalgia to just reminisce on Miami. I do apologize again for the technical difficulties. I was going back and forth with Will, jabbing him for being an OU grad, but again, he's not holding anything against us for being Miami grads, so it's water under the bridge. Also, would like to reopen it. If there are any questions for our presenters, I would like to open that up for an opportunity. I have not seen anything come across, but we'll give it just a few 15 seconds, call it. And nothing so far. A few house cleaning items before we wrap up today. Just upcoming events for Miami. I guess before I do that, I would like to again thank our presenters Maria and Will Tarter for joining us today. Such a fantastic opportunity to have real experts in public speaking and people that have been doing it and are leaders in the community to boot. So thank you for Maria and Will for joining us today. Both very busy going on with their careers, and we're very happy to have them. In conclusion, I would like to just mention a few house cleaning items that we have coming up. Tuesday, July 28th, we have in collaboration with our Miami Women's Network, Beth and Brescia. She's the Senior Director of Fund Development at Case Western Reserve. We'll be doing a question and answer interview with her on her leadership experience throughout her career. Thursday, August 6th, we will have Ohio State Supreme Court Justice Patrick DeWine. That will be a joint event with our Columbus and Cincinnati chapters, and I'm sure it'll be open to the chapters at large across the country. And then Friday, August 21st, here locally in Cleveland, our 9th annual golf outing that supports our local scholarship fund. That's at 10 a.m. shotgun start. Emails have been distributed. We are also looking for sponsors for those events. And with that, I would like to just thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you found it interactive and you have something to take away as you move forward. And we also would like to encourage you, if you do have questions or want to join Toastmasters, we are doing webinar meetings. And they are Thursdays at 12:05. You can email Emily or myself directly, and we can get you information and communicate that. Again, it's a really powerful group that allows you to practice week in, week out your public speaking skills. And it's been a fantastic additive for my career and my growth in the past and hopefully moving forward. So with that, that will do it for today, and have a great rest of your Tuesday. And then again, thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you soon.